Hello beautiful beings! Welcome back to Mindfulness and Yoga with Amanda. Today we're going to be learning about the Ujjayi breath. We're going to be going over some alignment principles and then practice a mini flow to kind of incorporate everything we learned at the end. So Ujjayi in Sanskrit means victorious. So it is also known as the victorious breath. It's also known as the ocean breath because once we get into it, the sound is kind of like ocean waves coming back and forth. So the benefits of the breath are it's very calming, it builds internal heat in the body, it increases our oxygen intake, and what I really love about it is that it helps me synchronize each of my yoga poses to the breath more easily. So how you're going to do it is you're going to contract the muscles in your throat so that the breath kind of stays in the main throat area. And the best way that I learned it, or a good analogy, would be pretend like you're fogging up a mirror or glass with your mouth. So the sound is kind of like this. You can envision how if you do that right up next to like a window, you'll see the fog. So it's going to be just like that, except you're going to keep your mouth closed. And it kind of creates that friction and that constriction in the throat, and you can really feel the breath there. So you don't feel it up in the nose or the mouth, it's really staying in the throat. So on the inhale, go ahead and contract the throat, and then exhale. And you can practice a couple times with your mouth open. So kind of like you're just really putting your breath out there. And then go ahead and try and practice closing the mouth. And once you do it a few times and you get the hang of that feeling in the back of your throat, it's very calming, it's very grounding and soothing. It helps you really connect with the breath. I find myself doing this one not only in my yoga practice, but just in daily life. If you ever get stressed, it's a really good breathing technique to kind of help you slow down and just tune into the present moment. So once we get into the more flowy part of the practice today, I'll cue to practice your Ujjayi breath, and it should really help you correlate your breath with each pose more easily. But before we get into any vinyasa or flow, let's go over a few different alignment principles that I think could really help anybody along their yoga journey. So the first one we're going to learn is called carrying angle, and I'll meet you on your mat so we can get into it. So go ahead and just find a nice comfy spot on your mat. You could be in easy seated position, you could be sitting up on your knees, maybe you grab a pillow and stick it under your rear. We're just going to be explaining something for a few minutes here. So carrying angle can help us when we're in tabletop position, which is when we're on our hands and knees, or in downward facing dog, any pose that's going to require you to put your hands on your mat. A lot of yoga teachers might cue to have the hands about shoulder width apart, but that's not necessarily true for everybody because all of our bodies are different. So what you can do to figure out exactly how far apart your hands should be on your mat, and additionally what angle they should be turned out as, would be known as your carrying angle. So how you figure this out is you sit on your knees, you bring your arms down at your sides, and just how they naturally fall, you can see that my arms aren't exactly parallel. They're not hugged in towards the midline. They're kind of turned out a little bit because that's how my body naturally sits. So to maintain this natural posture while our hands are on the mat, all you're going to do is keep your arms where they're at, and then set up as if you're going to go into tabletop position, and then simply flip the palms over so that they stayed at the same width apart and the same angle turned out. And now I can see my palms are turned out slightly, my arms aren't exactly shoulder width apart, but this is more natural for my body. So go ahead and face the front of your mat. You can come onto your knees, sit back on your heels, allow your arms to hang by your sides, palms facing forward, and then take a look down and see, are my arms parallel? Are they turned out slightly? Are my hands straight, or do they also have an angle? So keeping your arms where they feel most natural. You're going to sit up on your knees, bring the arms forward while maintaining that same width apart, and the same angle. Go ahead and flip the palms facing down on the mat, and that is your carrying angle. So now you can make a mental note for your yoga practice. Wherever your hands are at on your mat, you can remember this is their natural place. And so maybe when a yoga teacher tells you, put your hands shoulder width apart, or come into all fours, or get into down dog, you can remember to put your hands where they are on your mat right now. Or you can even take a second to test it out if you forget. Set up the arm position, and then bring them right to where they feel most natural. And now you can always remember which hand position works best for you. So the next pose we're going to break down the alignment is downward facing dog. It's one we do a lot, and we want to make sure that we're keeping our alignment in mind and not just doing what feels good out of habit. So from all fours, go ahead and tuck the toes. We're going to raise those hips towards the sky. And the main thing we really want to be focusing on is having an equal weight distribution between your legs and your arms. So a lot of people want to focus on getting this back heel down, but if you're like me and your hamstrings are really tight, you can focus and keep the knees bent so we can focus on the upper body, and then we'll work on the legs. So keeping the knees bent, we have our hands in the right place, we're pushing the floor away, and you want to allow your shoulders to reach towards your hands, so that way you don't feel like you're pulling them up into your shoulder sockets. You want to let them relax and hang heavy towards the earth. This is the most natural way that our shoulders will fall in this position. If we try and force them up into our shoulder sockets, it's going to pull on your neck and back. So whenever you're in down dog, just think about the way that gravity is working. So your hips and the backs of your legs are going to be pulling towards the earth the same way that your shoulders and your hands are pushing the floor away. So our shoulders are falling towards our hands. We have some nice movement with our head here. You should be able to turn your neck from side to side. Shouldn't feel any tension there. And then, so keeping our knees bent still. We want to make sure that our upper body, so our core and our chest, are aligned properly. So from here, you don't want to have a rounded back, and you don't want to have a completely arched back. You want to stay right in the center so that everything kind of stacks up evenly towards the top of your hips. So if you find yourself rounding kind of like a cat back, you want to come back to neutral. And if you feel like you're really, pushing down and getting a lot of flexibility in your back, you want to make sure you bring it up and engage the core a little bit more. So that is the upper body. And whenever I cue it, you can say, place your hands mindfully, like we did for a carrying angle. Allow the shoulders to fall towards the earth. Feeling that there's no tension in the neck. Engaging the core. And pushing the floor away with an equal and opposite force as our legs. So from here, you can try and straighten the legs. And maybe you just straighten them one at a time, kind of like when you're pedaling out the feet. And maybe straight legs feels good for you, but if it feels like it's pulling a little bit too much, especially for your first down dog, you can keep a nice bend in the knees and just make sure that the balls of your feet are pressing into the mat with an equal and opposite force as your hands. That way it'll take some of the pressure off of your shoulders, and it can be more equally distributed through the hips. So this is our downward facing dog. So go ahead and just come back onto the hands and knees. You can sit back on your heels. So there's a couple other poses that I want to practice going over the alignment with, so that we can put it all into a flow and practice our Ujjayi breath. So go ahead and stand up to the front of your mat. I've done this in past videos, but if this is your first time here, then it's a good thing. We're going to go over the alignment of mountain pose. So coming to the front of your mat here, I'm going to face the camera so that you can see me, but you're at the front of your mat. We've got our feet shoulder width apart. We're going to plant all 4 corners of the foot into the earth. So when you do this, you should be able to lift up your toes off the mat. The 4 corners of your foot is going to be on the ball of the foot on the front, and then the 2 back corners of your heel. So if you're standing in mountain pose and you're really digging your toes into the mat, practice shifting the weight more towards your heels and lifting up on the toes. So you can practice even just standing here with your toes lifted to remember that we're rooting into the 4 corners and not into the toes. But go ahead and just place the toes down, keeping that mindful plant into the earth. We can feel the earth's energy come up through our legs and give us strength and stability. We want to be thinking about hugging our shins in towards each other while also rolling our thighs back and apart. So this will create kind of like a hugging in towards the midline energetic feeling. It should feel really powerful. And so when you notice that you do that, we're kind of going to build up from the ground up. Whenever you hug the shins in and rotate the thighs back, you find that your upper body wants to come forward. So keeping all of that bottom work, we're going to now work on the top. So if we engage our core and root our tailbone, we'll notice that our stomach and our chest will more come in line with our hips and be more stacked. Because if you went from rotating your hips towards the back of the mat, your upper body is spilling forward. So now we engage our core, root our tailbone, and now we're nice and stacked here. So we're up to our hips and our core. Now we want to think about inhaling our sides of our body long. So you can think about lifting up on the armpits. It'll create a nice length in the spine. And then you can expand your heart, which will bring your shoulder blades back. So you can exhale. Imagine the shoulder blades falling onto the back plane, kind of like someone was standing behind you and pulling your arms back, but you're just moving the shoulders in that way. This will really open up the chest. So now we have a nice stacked foundation. We have an elongated spine, an open heart, relaxed shoulders. So you should have nice room here between the ear and the shoulders. And then finally, just to continue with the elongating, you can feel the crown of the head reaching towards the sky, and you're still rooting into the earth, and you should feel this equal and opposite force pulling you right at your core, or right at the pelvis. So it's this energy line that's going to make you feel about 5 inches taller and very grounded. So now our crown is reaching up, we're rooting in. You can place the hands at the sides, palms facing forward. Our fingers are nice and wide, so our hands feel like they have a lot of energy. It's really expelling out of us through our feet, through our palms, through our crown. And this is mountain pose. So we take a few deep breaths here, really emanating in the power of being a mountain. Inhaling, exhaling. Just feeling grateful. We have a moment to connect with our breath and really ground into the earth before we start our practice. So the next pose I'm going to go over the alignment for is Warrior One, because this one kind of goes pretty fast if you're going through a sun salutation and you feel like you're up, you're down, and you don't even know if you hit the right, spots with your muscles. So let's go over that one, so that when we're practicing it with the breath, you can just focus on the breath and I won't have to worry about cueing the alignment. You'll just know how to incorporate it.
Are you destroying everything?
So facing the front of your mat, go ahead and take a step forward with your right foot. Bring that left foot back. For Warrior One, you can be up on the ball of your foot, or you can have it pivoted down. So whichever way you feel more balanced. I prefer to keep myself up on the ball of the foot, because if we're coming from a sun salutation and we go up to Warrior One, placing the back heel down is kind of just like an extra step, but it's whatever your body tells you. So Right foot forward, left foot back. We're going to think about those same principles we talked about in mountain pose. So rooting into the earth, hugging the feet in towards each other, maintaining that outward spiral of the thighs, which might push your upper body forward. But then if you engage the core, root the tailbone, you'll find the shoulders nice and stacked up over the hips. You can inhale your side body long, expand your heart. Exhale, relax the shoulders onto the back plane. And then feeling the crown reach towards the sky. You should be feeling really sturdy here. Equal and opposite force of the legs, pushing towards each other so you don't feel like you're leaning too far forward or too far back. And when you hug those feet in towards each other, it'll really feel like you're being lifted up off the ground, so you're not really bearing too much of the weight into your legs. So whenever we get into this, in a sun salutation, and you can come out of it, we're going to be in a down dog. We're going to inhale, lift the leg up, exhale, pull it through. Inhale, we're going to reach the arms up, and then exhale, put them right back down. So it's really quick, so you got to kind of be on top of all those little alignments that are happening. So when you inhale up, you don't flop over, but you're not too focused on the alignment, so you can focus on your breath. So it'll be a nice kind of flowy transition that we'll do, and it'll really allow you to connect with the Ujjayi breath. But yeah, hopefully after going over this, you'll feel more confident and comfortable as we flow through it. So those are all the main alignments I wanted to go over for our little flow that we do. We're going to be doing a plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog. I've gone over those in past videos, but there's not too much alignment to worry about. It's kind of just tuning into your body and doing what feels natural. So I'll go through the first one a little bit slow, just so you know the process of all the poses, and then we'll go through it 2 times after that a little bit quicker, so we can kind of just tune into the ocean breath. And then at the end, if we have time, I was going to go over tree pose, which is just balancing on one leg and allowing the foot to come up. And then we can practice our breath in tree pose as well. So let's get started. We'll get to the front of the mat. Go ahead and build your mountain pose just like we did before. Rooting all 4 corners of the feet into the earth. Feeling the earth's energy come up through the legs, giving us that strength and stability. Inhaling our side body long and expanding our hearts. Exhale, relaxing the shoulders onto the back plane. Inhaling, feeling the crown reach towards the sky. Exhale, rooting into the earth. Allowing the palms to come to the sides, facing forward. Just breathing here in our moment of stability before we flow. Go ahead and inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, you're going to place your hands mindfully. So now you can remember where you put your hands when we learned carrying ankle. Go ahead and step the feet back to a downward facing dog. And again, remembering we're pushing the floor away equally with arms and legs, allowing the shoulders to gratify towards the earth. We're going to inhale, reach the right leg up back behind us. Exhale, pull it through to the front of your mat in between your hands. And now this is when we're going to come up into a warrior 1. So when we're right here, go ahead and choose however you want to have your foot. It could be up on the ball of the foot, or it could be placed down at an angle. We're going to inhale, reach the arms up for warrior 1. So it'll just be a split second here that we're up in warrior 1. We're going to stay grounded, engage that core, and just really lengthen up towards the sky. It's a very muscular pose, so you should feel nice and sturdy here. Exhale, we're going to place the hands back down and step back to downward facing dog. Then just take a breath here. Go ahead and pedal out those feet. You can roll the ankles, bend the legs. Just getting nice and stretched out here. Really tuning into our bodies. And then finding some stillness. We're going to inhale, lift the left leg up and back. Exhale, pull it through to the front of your mat, in between your hands. Inhale, reach the arms up. Warrior one. Finding that moment of stability here and lengthening. Exhale, place the hands, framing the front foot, then stepping back to downward facing dog. We're going to inhale, roll into the balls of the feet, roll through the spine, shift the weight to the front of your mat. We're going to exhale, lower onto our belly. You can untuck the toes, lengthen the legs behind you. Inhale, you're going to press up into an upward facing dog. The knees come up, shoulders stay down. Facing forward, just elongating our lungs here. Then you're going to exhale, tuck the toes, step back to down dog. And then from here, we're going to inhale, roll through the spine, shift the weight forward. Now we're going to take some baby steps to the front of the mat. When you can't go any further, go ahead and bend the knees. Inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale, hands to heart, Tadasana. Beautiful. Okay, so that's the little mini flow we're going to go through. Now we're going to do it 2 times in a row, and I'm not going to focus on cueing the alignments anymore. I'm going to pick up the pace just a little bit, and that way we can really just sink into our breath. And it should be a little bit of a workout, but also just very soothing and almost meditative to really just cycle through your breath with each pose. So this is something you can practice during any yoga class. If you're doing a little vinyasa flow, feel free to just engage into your Ujjayi breath. I'll go over it one more time. So remember, you're constricting the throat. It's almost like you're fogging a mirror. So, but you have the mouth closed. So, and even keeping that same constriction when you're inhaling too. It'll allow you to really tap into the airflow, and it'll really slow down the breath. It should feel really nice. It's very cleansing, centering. So go ahead and try just a couple deep breaths. Inhaling, exhale. And if you don't quite get it today, that's okay. It's just something to practice on your own. If you feel like you're kind of getting distracted by the fact that you're trying to do the Ujjayi breath, just do normal breathing. The main point of this exercise is just to tune into the cycles of the breath and to flow with your vinyasa. So it should be nice and relaxing. A little bit of a workout. All right, so go ahead and stand to the front of your mat. Go ahead and build your mountain pose. We're going to inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, place your hands mindfully. Step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the right leg up and back. Exhale, bring it through to the front of your mat, placing it in between your hands. Inhale, warrior one. Exhale, frame the front foot. Step back to down dog. Inhale, lifting the left leg. Exhale, pulling it through to the front of your mat. Inhale, lift the arms up. Warrior one. Exhale, frame the front foot and step back to down dog. Remember, staying with that breath here. You can hold down dog for 2 breaths. Pedal out the feet if you want. On your next inhale, you're going to roll into the balls of the feet, rolling through the spine, shifting the weight forward. Exhale, lower onto the belly. Untuck the legs. Inhale, pressing to upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, rolling through the spine, taking baby steps towards your hands to the front of your mat. Exhaling, bending the knees, forward fold. Inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale, hands to heart, Tadasana. Just staying with the breath here, we're going to go through one more time. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, place the hands mindfully, step back to down dog. Inhale, lift the right leg up and back. Exhale, pulling through to the front of your mat. Inhale, reach the arms up, straight and strong, warrior one. Exhale, place the hands mindfully, stepping back to down dog. Inhale, lift the left leg up and back. Exhale, bending the knee, pulling it through, stepping to the front of the mat. Inhale, reach the arms up, warrior one on the left side. Exhale, place the hands mindfully, step back to down dog. Go ahead and catch your breath here for a moment or two. Pedaling the feet, swaying the hips side to side. You're going to inhale, roll into the balls of the feet, shifting the weight to the front of your mat. Exhale, lower onto the earth. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. This time, inhale, roll into the balls of the feet. Walk forward towards your hands. When you can't go any further, bend your knees. Forward fold. Inhale, reach the arms up one last time. And exhale, hands to heart, Tadasana. That was so beautiful. I really felt the cycles of my breath just flowing with each pose. I hope you were able to tap into your Ujjayi breath. And again, if you didn't quite get it today, just practice it at home. Fog up that mirror. Go stand in front of a real window if you have to. And then if you try and close the mouth, it's that same feeling. So that was our ocean breath. Very cleansing. Okay, I think we have a little bit of time left. We're going to practice tree pose. And we can even do the ocean breath while we're in tree. And if you find it easier to come off of your mat onto a hardwood floor, sometimes that's a little bit easier for balancing on one foot, but if you feel nice and balanced on your mat, you can do that as well. I'm personally gonna step off because my mat is a little bit squishy. Okay, so let's do the right leg first. We're gonna ground those four corners of the foot into the earth. You can even lift up the toes a little bit just to make sure that's where the weight is being distributed. You're going to feel that energy coming up from the earth with your hip stacked over your knee, stacked over your ankle. You have a nice straight line of energy going on there. You're going to inhale, feel the energy coming up the upper body, engaging the core. Go ahead and shift the weight onto the right leg and practice just lifting that left leg. Maybe you just come into a kickstand here. And for tree, you can have your foot below the knee or above the knee. But you don't want to put it right on the knee joint. So go ahead and try out both of those positions. If you feel like your foot goes right to the knee, you want to just bring it below because you don't want to be pushing onto that joint. It'll throw off your balance. So just figuring out where your foot feels best. Beautiful. So you can feel your leg pushing against your foot with an equal and opposite force. Keeping that core engaged, keeping a nice straight spine. Maybe you bring your hands to Anjali Mudra, heart center. Maybe you bring your palms to the side. Maybe you lift them up. Whatever tree pose resonates with you today. And then go ahead and just take your gaze to one focal point. That usually helps me to find my balance by looking at one spot here. And then, if you're not about to fall over, go ahead and tune into your Ujjayi breath. Beautiful. Okay, you can release the leg, come back to standing. Now we're going to do our other foot. So standing on the left leg, root those four corners into the earth, really grounding down, but then we can feel the earth's energy lift us up, giving us some strength here. We feel the hip over the knee, over the ankle, the nice straight line of energy. Go ahead and lift up off this right leg, engaging the core, keeping a nice straight spine, and then just seeing wherever your foot feels best here. Maybe on this side you can go up higher, maybe you stay on the shin, as long as we're not right on the knee joint. And just feeling the hips open up here, getting a nice stretch. Bringing your hands wherever they feel most natural for you. And taking 3 deep breaths here in our tree pose. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. Maybe you try your Ujjayi breath, just feeling nice and centered here. Beautiful. Okay, go ahead and release the leg. So we learned some fundamental alignments today. We tapped into our ocean breath, our victorious breath, Ujjayi breath. We did a little fun balance and tree. So I hope you took some nice tools that you can practice at home. Keep working on that Ujjayi breath, even if it's just in the middle of your day. I find myself, like, if I'm driving, I'm just ocean breath because I get like stressed out or whatever. So take the tools and use them however you love, and I hope to see you next week. Namaste.